Alrighty, we are back again in my car filming another video. Today I meant to film this video before I did my workout at the gym. I forgot, and now we're in the car in my driveway. So, hopefully that's all right with everybody. But I just want to make sure I get this out before I forget. This video is going to be about the recent controversy around the RTX 5000 series announcements and the claim that the 5070 is going to be just as powerful as the 4090 and so on and so forth. And I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of coverage about this, basically talking about the fact that NVIDIA is treating games being rendered with no AI upscaling as the same as games being rendered with AI upscaling. And that is either upsetting people because they think that that's misleading, which it is, or they're upset that, maybe they don't understand that it is misleading and they own a 4090 and they spend a bunch of money for it. And now they're like, what, this $500 card is going to do the same as mine? Why did I even buy anything? And, I think it'd be kind of surprising if somebody that owns a 4090 really doesn't understand this, but I'm sure there's a bunch of people like that out there. But I just wanted to talk about this situation because I think it represents an interesting inflection point in gaming where we're kind of stuck. We're going to be dealing with this for a decent amount of time moving forward. It's just, do we like this AI upscaling thing that's happening? I think at first it seemed awesome, because at the outset of 4K gaming, there was just really not a lot of cards that could do it, but our monitors were starting to get to the point where we could play games in 4K, but we couldn't run them in 4K, if that makes sense. And a lot of it, I still have a 1080p monitor. I have not upgraded since I got an ultra wide like 8 years ago, 6 or 7, 8 years ago. Just because I just haven't felt the need to do so. But if I know a lot of people that are gaming on 1440p, a lot of people that have upgraded to 4K, maybe they play 4K 60, but as monitors are starting to get more impressive, or maybe people are playing stuff on their TV, it's like, we want to see stuff in 4K, we want to play in 4K, but our stuff doesn't have the power to reach that. We want to turn on ray tracing, but our stuff doesn't have the power to handle that, even though we're supposed to be able to. So with that in mind, DLSS, FSR, all that kind of stuff was awesome because it was able to be that stopgap between the technology actually being able to perform at a decent price level and us being able to actually see and use that technology. And, there's certain things where FSR and DLSS are a big game changer. Like for me, there's certain games on my Steam Deck that I just downright pretty much can't play if I don't have FSR on, and when I do have it on, I can play them perfectly fine, and I can tailor the level of how aggressive I want the FSR to be depending on how many much more frames I want to get. Basically, one game that I discovered this was helpful for was Evil West when that first came out, and I actually played it on my Steam Deck before I played it on the PlayStation 5, and it's just it was really great in those circumstances because when I'm using the Steam Deck, I don't really care that there might be a little bit of extra blurriness or artifacting or something like that, because I'm already playing on a small screen, and the idea that I could take this fully fledged experience and bring it to something where I could play in bed, play on the couch, play in the car, stuff like that. It's really, that in of itself is so mind-blowing that I'll forgive things like that. And you kind of see that attitude amongst gamers with everything where we have, like a full-fledged experience ported to portable. Like, I'm pretty sure that almost every, thing that was ported from the PlayStation 1 to the PSP and the PS2 to the Vita and stuff like that, they all have their own little issues and quirks and things like that. But when you're playing through it, you just don't really care, even if there's slowdown, because you're just amazed that you're able to actually achieve this on a handheld device, right? So DLSS and FSR works really great for those type of things, and I don't think that it's an outright bad. There shouldn't be it's not evil. It's a very useful tool that we can use for everything. And apparently nvidia is saying that 80% of people are turning it on now. If they're turning it on or if it's on by default, I have no idea. But the idea that, so many people are using it, it is actually helpful. But what's sad, like the counterpoint, is that now we have stuff like they were like Linus from Linus Tech Tips is like, I'm not going to spend $2,000 to get the 5090 and then turn DLSS on, right? Like if I get the 5090, if I'm spending like 1,200 plus, I think it's actually 2,000. If I'm spending $2,000 on a graphics card, I'm not using AI upscaling. I'm trying to get the full-fledged 4K rendered image in front of me at the frame rates that are promised to me. Now, I understand that there is an argument to be made about, what is the difference? Like every frame is a fake frame, right? But it's just like, are we going to let the market turn into this thing where basically we're just barely juicing more power out of each of these cards, slapping a $100 premium on them, and then moving on to the next year? I'm just not a big fan of that. And I don't like the idea that we are relying on these AI upscaling techniques more and more as time goes on. Because, we already see what's going on right now with the UE5 situation. I don't know if you guys have seen that channel, Threat Interactive, but if you've been playing games in the last couple of years, it's pretty obvious to tell when certain games are made in Unreal Engine, and games are supposed to be more realistic than ever with the newest hardware, but they tend to have visual issues that if you're playing a lot of games, you definitely notice, but if you're playing only a couple games, maybe you never notice them and it doesn't even bother you, but it's just like games are definitely getting worse in a way. Like they are coming out more clunky. They are coming out way less optimized. They are coming out way less polished. And stuff like reliance on AI upscaling makes me feel like those things are not going to change, right? And I don't know how to code a video game. I just love to play them. So at the end of the day, like I'm not going to tell any developer that they're lazy or not lazy or whatever for using whatever implementation of technology they did to get to their end game. But it is interesting and kind of sad how the industry is moving, where it's like we're spending a lot of time just putting together the temporary Band-Aid fix to get the product out. And I know this is all born on agile crap, so like my apologies to agile people, but I use agile at work. It's one of these things where it's obvious that like this minimum viable product mindset should not be the sort of thing where we're releasing the minimum viable product to the actual customers for $69.99, right? This is kind of ridiculous. And just that whole mindset and like, let's just get it out so we can make money off this thing and then we'll fix it later is only going to be more and more enabled by technology like this, because what is the point of optimizing the game if DLSS is just going to come through and clean up everything in the second half? So, and I can understand why some people would say that's actually a very rational way to think about it. I personally hate that, but that's just, almost like an ideological thing I feel about games. But it's just, I hope that as we move forward, because stuff like DLSS and FSR can be so helpful in those different certain situations, like with the Steam Deck or with an underpowered machine being able to actually run newer games. It's like, those sort of use cases are amazing. I don't want it to go away. I don't think we should be demonizing it. But at the end of the day, should we be just talking about it like it's the exact same thing as the actual rendered image? Like, should we just be comparing it like it's actually apples to apples? Because it's really not. Like, if you show the image to somebody that plays a lot of games, that's looking at this stuff day after day, they're going to be able to tell the difference between an FSR image, a DLSS image, and like the actual thing. You know what I mean? So that's my 2 cents. I know nobody really asked for it, but I think we're just at an interesting inflection point in gaming, and I'm interested to see where the industry goes. With ray tracing was kind of what brought all this stuff in, and now we can kind of play ray trace games. We have the power to do it. Do we still need to be focusing so heavily on this AI upscaling stuff? I don't know. So I know nobody probably cares about my opinion on this, but I just think it'd be interesting to hear what everybody else is thinking about this in the comments, because it's easy to say that everything that's not pure is bad, but like we said before, there are great use cases for this stuff. So I'd be interested to see what you guys say in the comments down below. Have a great rest of your weekend and a good start to your week, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.